Hey kids, we're a couple of annoyed grunt boys, and this is the 138th Simpsons podcast. That's right, we're the podcast that explores the American animated sitcom Simpsons from seasons 11 and beyond, and the newest ones when they're available. Why do we do it like this? Well, a mysterious entity known as the Wheel of Random has trapped us and forced us to watch things in such a manner. Plus, there are plenty of other podcasts to explore the quote-unquote golden age of The Simpsons, that being seasons 1 through 10. I say we because I am one annoyed grunt boy named Steve, and with me, as always, is the other annoyed grunt boy,
Steve.
That's me. And you are?
Craig.
That's right. How's it going, Craig?
It's going well, sir. Can I talk about TV for a second?
If you must.
If we were talking about those over-the-air channels, I think they're also on cable too, like Me TV, and how they show old sitcoms. And it's just a lot of fun. It's like my childhood again, because that's what we watched when we were kids. We watched reruns of old 60s, 70s shows. Now, did you know that Me TV has a whole cartoon network? Not the Cartoon Network, but their own over-the-air network that just shows cartoons.
I think this is amazing. I remember you telling me about this. I checked it out since then, and it's just so much fun.
And it's all old 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and some 80s. I think the newest cartoons they have on there is the old Police Academy cartoon from the 90s, and I think the real Ghostbusters is on there. But they always just show a lot of Jetsons and a lot of Flintstones, a lot of old Hanna-Barbera stuff. A lot of the old Merry Melodies, Looney Tunes, stuff like that. A lot of black and white, a lot of Popeyes. But what's funny is you hear about all these old cartoons, which we watched too. We were raised by these cartoons, these old Looney Tunes. And you would think that in today's society, with the cancellation of problematic things, especially then of, maybe racial stereotypes. Yeah, I know Mel Blanc did a lot of voices, and of course a lot of his voices are very racially stereotypical. A few years ago, weren't people saying we're not going to stream old Speedy Gonzales cartoons because of the voice, right? And a lot of other cartoons like Foghorn Leghorn. But this channel shows it all, and it shows it in all of its racial glory. I just think it's hilarious. Oh man, some of this. I'm watching a Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoon, and it's Peabody and Sherman are in China, and every stereotype is out there. Even the faces are very problematic is the word I would use.
Right.
So it's really funny that they're showing this. I'm this is definitely this cartoon over the air network. It's not for kids, because how do kids know how to access an antenna TV channel? They don't. Mm-hmm. But what's more amazing about this channel is it is not marketed towards kids, because all the commercials are for boomers. It's here's you make sure your will is set. Do you need some your Medicare is all set, another commercial is probably Tom Mustache Man. What's his name? Tom Selleck, trying to sell you reverse mortgages. I just think it's hilarious because it's a Cartoon Network, but for boomers.
It's so much fun because growing up, anytime I had a chance to watch cartoons, I would watch them, and it's something that you don't need to fully engage yourself in, but it's just there, and it's so comforting. So yeah, this is such a great thing, and it is funny too that all the problematic stuff and all the appealing to people in their 50s or older, it's great. I love it.
There was a cartoon that was on the other day, and the animation was really crude. It was from the 70s. It was called Wait Till Your Father Gets Home.
Oh, I had show, yes.
I'd never heard of it, never seen it. It was on, and I'm watching it because it's just essentially All in the Family. It's the same setup. It's just a dad and Edith, his wife, but then it's the reverse is instead of his daughter, it's his son, and his girlfriend moves in with him. And it's just I guarantee you, watch this, this Simpsons must have had influence, or even Family Guy, because even the dad's voice sounds very much like Peter Griffin.
Isn't it Tom Bosley from Happy Days?
Hey, I see Tom Bosley is in the credits here. Yeah, he's Harry Boyle, Joan Gerber, Christina Holland, Jackie Earl Haley was a voice in this. And he was little kids at the time. That's fucking Kelly Leak from Bad News Bears.
Yeah.
Some of you might know him from The Watchmen. He was The Question or Rorschach. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So I watched this episode and the animation's horrible, but had the laugh track too. Like I always thought it was funny, like cartoons having laugh tracks.
Yeah. It is funny that like with that show or like even Flintstones, it kind of makes sense because it's supposed to be like a sitcom. But like when Scooby-Doo would have laugh tracks sometimes, like it was always weird because like nobody's laughing at that show. It's not funny. But
that was when I knew this was the episodes I wanted to watch because I wanted to watch the classic like 70s Scooby-Doo. I'd never liked like the Scrappy-Doo. I didn't like, where they try. Yeah. Anytime they've always kind of remade it. Although I must say there was that one time I think I mentioned on the podcast, there was a Scooby-Doo with like Macklemore and they were in Seattle and I thought the episode was actually kind of funny. Because I always like Scooby-Doo, but I always like the classics. So yeah.
Right. Of course.
But I just think it's funny that Meet TV, it sounds like I'm doing an ad, but it's just fun to put on the background. Yes, we're going to get a lot of old boomer commercials, but a lot of these cartoons, they don't have on like Max or wherever, they don't stream this stuff. It's the only way you can watch.
Cartoon Network is dead.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see like in another 20 years, I don't know how TV is going to work, but will there be like a network that just shows, I guess it's FXX right now because FXX shows King of the Hill, Family Guy, Bob's Burgers, and The Simpsons. That's all they ever show. So
yeah, it's kind of like when Nick at Night transferred from being like the Mary Tyler Moore Show or All in the Family or Dick Van Dyke, and now it's like Friends and Mad About You or Single.
Steve, that was like 30 years ago when that happened.
I know, but it's still weird because now they're probably showing like Modern Family or Scrubs or something.
Even Scrubs is dated. Like it's probably showing Young Sheldon right now if Nick and Night exists.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. It is fun watching cartoons. Wink, wink, wink.
Yes, and it's fun to go back in time to watch those cartoons all the way back to, I don't know, let's say February 18th, 2001. Craig, what was the number one movie in the box office?
Well, I know this movie was based off of a really great man, one of the best men out, some would say, a true life hero to a former president of ours. That's right, Hannibal. Long-awaited sequel to Silence of the Lambs, right? Or was this? Yeah, this was the sequel.
It was. I remember a first date with, I think, a girl I met on a bus or something, and we didn't talk much before the movie. And then we watched the movie, and then I don't know that we did much else after that. Like, I think we walked through the mall. But I just remember being kind of bored with the movie, kind of being bored with the date. And, yeah, so this movie didn't do much for me.
But what about the scene with Ray Liotta and his brains?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
He's eating his brains. Fun scene. Well, I'm sorry, Miss Steve.
For real?
I am for real.
Well, you don't seem very popular. In fact, you seem somewhat like, I don't know, an outcast?
Yeah, that's safe to say.
Yeah, that's right. Because the number one song on the Billboard Hot 100 was Miss Jackson by Outkast.
That's crazy talk, Steve.
And my brother were all a little worried about it.
I mean, a town without a crazy is like an effect without a butterfly.
Oh. Somebody call Ashton Kutcher.
Why?
Because he was in the movie The Butterfly Effect.
Oh, yeah. See, what's the hot rock alternative of this time period?
Well, he's too crazy for Crazy Town and too boy for Boy Town. Because the number one hot rock on alternative song is, in fact, Butterfly by Crazy Town. And sadly, I think there's a guy, maybe named Spoonie G or something like that, from Crazy Town, and we recently lost him.
That's a bummer.
Our king.
That's right. Before we continue, Steve, I have a bunch of iced tea back behind me, so if you want any iced tea, just let me. I got a lot of brands, by the way.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing.
There's Lipton.
Yeah. There's Snapple. There's Tivana, but where's the good one? The one with the like teal can that's only 99 cents, but it's really good. It's always been good.
Oh, you're talking about Arizona?
Yeah.
Sorry, Steve. There is no Arizona.
What?
My friend from Ireland, one of the only old brothers, he took it. Yeah, he got rid of them all.
That Jamie.
Yep, that was the name.
That's great because the number one country song on the Hot 100 was There Is No Arizona by female Australian singer Jamie O'Neill.
Oh, I thought it was a Irish boy named Jamie O'Neill.
I mean, it would make sense because Jamie O'Neill does sound like an Irish boy. And, that is no less weird than an Australian singer on the Billboard Hot 100. Speaking of boys,
Oh, boy.
the number one hot dance song was Boy by Book of Love.
There's so many jokes we could make, Steve, but I'm not going to, Steve. I'm not going to be blue on this podcast. I am announcing it now.
Okay, I'm going to keep it clean.
Yes.
No filthy talk.
No.
Nice and PG rated.
Right. How long do you think it'd last that way, Steve? I think it'd be all episode.
The whole episode, all 3 hours of it, that we'll probably do.
All right. I'm excited.
Alrighty. Today we're talking about Day of the Jackanapes, in which Sideshow Bob is released from prison, and he sets about hypnotizing Bart in order to kill Krusty the Clown.
Let's kill Bart together, Steve.
Let's all kill Bart. And we'll do that on our break, and we'll be right back.
It begins.
And we're back. Today we're talking about Day of the Jackanapes, the 13th episode of the 12th season. It originally aired on February 18th, 2001. It is episode 261 in the show's run. Your nerd code is CABF10. It was written by Al Jean, directed by Michael Marcantel, and your showrunner is Mike Scully.
Whoa, weird that Scully was Al Jean's boss for this episode.
Yeah, really weird.
Do you think Scully was like, no, do this way, because I'm your boss today?
He's like, hi, I'm Mike Scully.
Is that how Scully talks?
Yeah.
Oh, Al Jean. Okay, yeah. Would you know that Al Jean's full name is Alfred Ernst Jean III? That sounds like a James Bond villain.
Yeah. I'm Albert Ernst Jean III.
That also very real, by the way you just said that.
Yes.
Look, what can you say about Al Jean, Steve? What can you say about him?
What can I say? He's a man.
You know how, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's the first time I ever said that on this podcast because I interrupt all the time. But would you like to have dinner with him?
Are you offering to buy us dinner?
Yeah, you have to go to Krusty Burger, but it's the Universal, so it's expensive.
Yeah. No, I think it would be fascinating to hear what, because he is like Simpsons royalty, speaking of, and it would be interesting to hear what he has to say. And he's been through, I think aside from maybe Daddy Matt Groening himself, I don't think of anybody else who has been more representative of the Simpsons throughout the tenure of the show.
It's been longer than 10 years.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Then the 35 year of the show, more than Al Jean. I think that he is the Simpsons, more or less. So,
well, remember that show? I want to say it was on IFC 100 years ago. It was I think it was Jon Favreau hosted. It was 5 guests and they did dinner. It was
Dinner for 5.
Dinner for 5, yeah. It was Jon Favreau show, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's you, it's Steve. Are you part of the 5 or is it 4 other people? Was it 6 people all together or was it?
I think it was a total of 5, so you'd have 4 guests.
Okay, so Steve, correctly. It's you, and then you have to pick 4 other people that work on The Simpsons, albeit, writer, directors, cast. Who are your 4 people that you're going to talk to at this dinner? And is Al Jean going to be one of those people? Let's find out right after this. And we're back, Steve. All right. Did you make your decision?
I think so. Okay.
All right.
So I am going to invite Al Jean. Of course, Tress McNeil, we love her. It'd be fun to hang out with her. It'd be I know you could have a lot of voice actors, but I think Tress McNeil would be a lot of fun. And then let's see, I'll probably go with, I know who my number 4 one is. I want to say that one for last.
Ooh, who could it be? Is it going to be Elon Musk from that one episode?
Oh, now you've ruined it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's going to be Elon Musk, Lady Gaga, Michael Jackson, and Alec Baldwin. No, I'm going to say, so we'll do Al Jean, Tress McNeil.
But just go back real quick. Why are you throwing Lady Gaga? Their episode is considered bad, but she's not a bad person.
I guess not, yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go...
We're still trying to get her on the show, Steve. Come on.
Oh, that's right. She'll be on there. James L. Brooks, just because,
Oh. But then you're... then you're going to be talking about other shows other than The Simpsons. If you got Brooks
I know.
There.
But, and then, of course, my final one would be John Schwartzwalder, because I know he'd show up.
All right. I'm sorry, Weinstein. I'm just taking Oakley.
Oh, fuck. I forgot about Oakley. Yeah, that's good too.
I'm taking Oakley, Schwartzwelder, Conan O'Brien.
Oh, my God. Wow. Jeez.
And, you're right, Tress. I know it's not going to be Harry Shearer. He probably is not fun at a party. I might have to go with Hank.
Yeah.
Seems like a good dinner guest.
That's a good answer, yeah.
All right. There we go, Steve. And then where are you taking them?
Oh,
I know in the dinner for five, it was just like at his, or was it a restaurant or I forget.
no, I think it was just like in a room. Like,
Yeah.
Although now John Favreau would probably cook for them because he's a chef.
Right.
Let's go to, let's go to Red Lobster. Like it's not dead yet, and
Right.
might as well get some Cheddar Bay biscuits while we still can.
Well, Steve, we're going to go with buy dinner dates. We're going to go to, I want to appease everyone, Steve. And the only place, the only restaurant in America, and dare I say, the world, that can appease everyone's appetite is, of course, the Cheesecake Factory.
Oh, nice, yeah. Got a whole city there. It's great.
Wow, what a fun segment, Steve. We should have saved this for an intro.
Oh,
But no,
great.
we could just talk about Al Jean and his wonderful episodes. Steve, we've talked so much about Al on the show and all the episodes that he's written or co-written with other people like Sam Simon or Mike Reese, even Groening himself.
Mm-hmm.
And the episodes that we've discussed, like Guess Who's Coming to Criticize Dinner, which was like our 10th episode, but also one of my favorite episodes of The Simpsons.
Yep.
But then after that was Hello Gutter, Hello Fodder. We reviewed that one. We haven't done Home R with the R backwards, which I can't wait for that one.
Great episode.
It's a great episode. And now we're getting Day of the Jackanapes. So the ones from 11 and beyond, Hello Gutter, Hello Fodder, Guess Who's Coming to Criticize Dinner, really great episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So does Day of the Jackanapes work with those wonderful episodes in this follow-up? Steve, let's find out, okay?
Alrighty. Let's begin with a chalkboard gag which reads, "The hamster did not have a full life."
All right. This one really got me because I have this new theory now, because we know Bart really loves animals, right?
Right.
We probably talked about a couple episodes ago about the pigeon. Wasn't he like helping a pigeon?
Mm-hmm.
So I think what happened was the hamster just died over the weekend, and it was, the hamster was probably not that old. And Krabappel was all like, yeah, the pigeon died, had a full life, don't worry. And Bart was like upset and crying. And it's like, the hamster did not have a full life, because you're a piece of shit teacher. Does this make sense?
It does,
right?
yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's very bleak what you're saying, but I think you're doing it right.
Like, he was just really upset that the hamster died, and Krabappel just kind of poo-pooed it, saying it was a full life. And then she's like, fuck you, Bart, you're staying after. And you're right, he did have a full life, to prove to you that it's just a fucking hamster.
So she's punishing him for being emotionally distraught by the death of a living being.
Yes,
Because
thank
in
you.
her mind, it is just a dumb rodent who did not live any sort of substantial existence.
Like, if it had died, like, after school, she would have just gone to the mall and bought a new one, so the next day it would have looked the same. But since it happened over the weekend, yeah, and all the kids came in with the teacher at the same time, like, oh, fuck, I don't have time to get a new hamster.
Right. Wow. That's dark.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to be dark in this episode. I'm just going to be all out there. How about that?
I like it.
Okay. Let's go to this couch gag, Steve, where we see Sigmund Freud, a character of him, but sitting in the chair on the couch, and Homer hops on the couch, yells, "Oh, Doctor, am I crazy?" Now, Steve, I swear I've seen this one before.
I think you have. Probably when it first appeared in the season 11 episode, Faith Off, which we discussed in our 73rd episode way back in June of 2020.
June 2020. Nothing bad happened in the summer of 2020, right?
Nope. We were all, hanging out, meeting up, doing things, kissing each other, touching each other.
Not emotionally distraught.
Not at all. Just everything was good.
All right, see, can we just begin the episode?
Yes. And our episode begins, as it always does, with America's favorite game show, Me Wanty. The host of the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire style game show, Virgil Sinclair, welcomes back contestant Mo, who was asked the previous day if he wanted to risk all of his winnings for $500,000. and Moe stalled for 20 minutes, just as the producer instructed. And now he must answer it in the next 10 or 15 minutes. And so a woman brings out a wheelbarrow full of cash, and as Ronald Sinclair rubs the money all over his body, he asks Moe if he would like a portion of the prize.
You want some of this? We'll do ya?
I can honestly say I do.
All right, then. For $500,000, which of the following is not a subatomic particle?
Oi.
A, proton. B, neutron. C, bonbon. Or D, electron.
Oh, boy. All right, let's see here. Well, I was born in Indiana, so that ain't it. And, I better call my lifeline.
Hello? Hey, Mo! We're watching you on TV!
Yeah, I know, Homer.
So, how's that bowel obstruction doing?
Homer, please. I got a nuclear-type question here.
Well, it all starts when a nulicule comes out of its nest.
The answer is bonbon.
I'm gonna say bonbon.
Bonbon, Amo. Is that your ultimate response?
Yeah,
Oh, you are correct!
If this opening doesn't show the culture, the pop culture of the year 2000, I don't think any other show. I mean, this was what America was about in the year 2000. And
I was going to say that it's so hard to describe the stranglehold that the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire had on America. Like, it was on like 3 or 4 nights a week at one point in prime time. It's what people watched. Like, it was everything. And so it is funny how much of a moment this was.
yeah, we acted like as a culture that we'd never seen a game show before.
Right. And they joke about how he had to like hem and haw about the answer or like, contemplate it for a long time. And that's basically what the show was. Like, there'd be like maybe 5 or 6 questions asked. And it was a lot of like just the person thinking it out and just to make drama. And yeah, it was interesting. Like, I remember being really into it for a moment and then kind of growing tired of it. And also like it made Regis Philbin like an even bigger star for a little bit.
Yeah. And then this is also the same time, like just reality and game shows were kind of making all the money for networks. Survivor came out and that was for $1 million. And yet other shows like, the The Amazing Race and The Follow Suit. And then you eventually get to like the primetime dating shows. Now we're at The Bachelor. But, I noticed that Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is back on primetime with like Celebrity. And it's like 2 celebrities doing a charity thing. So it's never going away.
Yeah, I think as long as they can produce game shows cheaply and easily, like they're going to keep on doing it because they don't have to pay as many writers, and it's a low stakes thing that they can just put on.
But yeah, this whole beginning is just, and I like how it's instead of like, is that your final answer, which was the Regis catchphrase, is this your ultimate response?
Right.
Well, the host asked Mo if he would like to take his winnings or try for $1 million, which is lowered in a large golden wheelbarrow. Despite his love of currency, Mo opts out to play it safe and stick with what he has. And as Virgil tells Mo that he's the boss, the woman just lights the $1 million on fire, and the audience cheers.
Really funny. Over at Studio 6, Krusty the Clown watches, saying that the game show is just a fad. And so a ponytailed soul patch producer tells Krusty that, fad or not, it's here to stay. And, I think sadly it's true. Game shows do come in waves, but it's still very popular. And sitting next to him is Lindsay Nagel, who adds that the game show is killing Krusty's show in the ratings. And Krusty argues that his show is a kid's show, but Lindsay suggests that he owns it up, and then the other producers offer platitudes such as run wild, shatter the boundaries, and slash and burn. And Lindsay says that you should do all of this without alienating anyone.
I do like that, like Krusty, just like, I'm a kid's show. What do you guys want from me?
Yeah. Also, I was going to point out that when Mo calls Homer in that clip, Homer does have a banner that says game show because we are in the banner era of The Simpsons.
Yeah. One of the banner era, Steve. I still think that's the golden age. Krusty grows frustrated with the network notes, and he looks to his side monkey, Mr. Teeny, for some support. Lindsay tells the clown prince of Channel 6 to be dangerous, but warm and edgy cute. Krusty runs out of the boardroom screaming, and the network execs feel like that exit was good, but they'd like to see it without the scream.
So, after a performance from Madame Mimi and her cheese-seeking poodles, Krusty cuts to a commercial promising that when they return, there'll be a sketch set in the craziest place, a restaurant. So we've got a scene in a game show and a scene in a restaurant. We're halfway to a episode of SNL.
Well, will we see a news broadcast later?
Maybe. Actually, we will, yeah.
All right. So there's a weekend update.
Just need a musical guest that I've never heard of. So as Krusty lights his ad break cigarette, Lindsay asks him if the restaurant could look more like a diner. The other network exec suggests the Seinfeld diner, and as he goes on to say how great the diner from Seinfeld is, Krusty informs them that they're back live in just 5 seconds. And so Krusty takes his place at the table, and after he mentions how much he loves eating out, he welcomes the waitress, and Miss Nagel, Lindsay, she acts as a server and whispers to Krusty that they're losing viewership in male teens and asks Krusty if he can get jiggy with something. No, getting jiggy with it.
Frustrated with getting the notes while on the air, Krusty makes a bold decision. He tells the viewing audience that he's been in showbiz for 61 years, but those jerks have sucked all the fun out. He adds that he doesn't need 12 suits to tell which way to pee. The male network suit suggests that he substitutes the word pee with whiz, but Lindsay Nagel is concerned that that may upset the Cheese Whiz people, and Krusty has had enough. He tells his viewer not to miss Friday's show, as it will be his last. Now, Steve, well, I feel like I've seen this episode before, but hasn't Krusty retired multiple times by now?
Yes. When he faked his own death, he retired. He retired
twice now.
Well, no, there's also the time when, when they brought back his show and, Sideshow Luke Perry and Bette Midler and all that, that was another one.
That's not the same one. You're right.
You're right. Sorry, at least twice. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll allow it, but watch yourself.
Thank you. So the in-studio audience gasps, and the male exec says that he likes the area of quitting the show, but where does it go from there? And so Krusty runs off the set onto a golf cart, and the network people chase behind, saying that they have even more notes. Krusty uses his clown shoe to try and beat the executive off his cart, but the suit says that if he dies, 2 more will take his place. And at the kitchen table of 742 Evergreen Terrace, the Simpsons react to the news of Krusty ending his show. And later, Kid Bruckman, with that aforementioned news report, reports on the somber scene at Krusty Lou Studios.
I can't believe Krusty's retiring. This is tragic.
A world without Krusty. What would that be like? What's on TV?
Nutsy the Clown?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Well, I think it's good for a show to go off the air before it becomes stale and repetitive.
Maggie shot Mr. Burns again. Krusty the Clown's retirement has provoked an outpouring of anguish not seen since the small plane crash that killed the Banana Splits. We now go live to Krusty Lou Studios. What's the mood there, Chief Clancy Wiggum?
These kids are getting a little out of hand, Kent, so we're gonna have to fire the timeout gas. Hey, Kent, are you guys still having that contest where we guess what city the weather girl's in?
That was 8 years ago.
Is it Pittsburgh?
Again, it just feels like so much 90s references.
Yeah.
Like the Today Show is to where's Al Roker, right?
I think it was Where in the World is Matt Lauer?
Oh.
Which is...
Where is he now, Steve?
I'm sure he's locked away in his office.
Hopefully locked away.
Yeah. And nobody else can get in or out.
Yeah.
The joke about, Marge saying that the show should end before it gets stale, and then Smith is walking in to say that Mr. Burns has been shot again by Maggie. Very funny stuff.
In season 12, The Simpsons is on the air for 12 seasons. This is unheard of. I doubt they ever thought they would get past, season 13.
So, yeah, think about this. They had been on for 12 years, and then they went on for another 12 years. And now we're about to go into another 12, or then there was another 12 years, and now we're about to enter another 12 years with season 36. This long-running show has not even been as long-running, it's wild to think about.
Yeah. And yet, here we are.
Years after this.
I know my child's going to continue the podcast after we're gone, and your cat, which, in the future they'll be able to like implant chips in your cat's brain to speak.
Oh boy.
And have the intelligence of a human.
I mean, he does have the intelligence of a human. A dumb human, but an intelligence of a human.
Oh, if your cat could talk, what would he say?
Food. That's food.
Like, Dad sure jerks off a lot in front of me.
Yes. Weird that, like, I'm just in the room and, like, he just goes for it. At least use a towel. Like, I gotta... I know I'm sitting right there, but... Come on.
Are you saying you jerk off on your cat?
I can also go blue.
Oh, man. Whew. All right. Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Kent interviews Krusty about his legacy of laughter. Krusty pontificates on the state of comedy, saying that young people today believe it's all about dirty words. He feels that it's actually words that sound dirty, like muckluck, and Kent responds with laughter, which is heard on a small TV screen at Springfield Penitentiary, where Sideshow Bob sits in his bed flipping through the latest issue of Prison Bride magazine.
So the crazy-haired would-be killer tells Krusty to can it, calling him a tiresome tot-sitter, adding that he was the risible one in the dyad. And for those of you who are not as erudite as Sideshow Bob, that means the one to provoke laughter in the things that consist of two parts. Back in Krusty's home, Ken asks if he ever watches older episodes of the show, to which Krusty sadly admits that he taped over all of the old episodes, much to the chagrin of Sideshow Bob.
Well, I had a thing for Judge Judy, and blank tape was $3.99. What would you do?
Those are my shows.
Frankly, Kent, those episodes were no big loss. The show didn't really get funny until we fired Sideshow Bob and hired Who's It's.
You've erased my past. Now I'll erase your future.
Hey, lights out.
Oh, honestly. At Chino, they get to stay up till 9.
Now, Bob, I've talked to the warden at Chino, and that's just not true.
I love the idea of the prison guard going to Chino and asking the warden, hey, do you guys let them stay up a little later?
Yeah, because my inmates are saying that, like, you guys get to stay up late and you have s'mores and pillow fights, and I just don't think that's true.
Steve, in prison, they have pillow fights, but those aren't pillows.
I love that movie.
Movie?
Speaking of dating things, like, do kids know what taping over something means or what a Judge Judy is?
Oh, no, Judge Judy's still on. She's got her own, like...
Oh, yeah,
probably.
That's true, yeah.
That's still a thing, but you're right. Taping over something. Now, imagine you downloaded the newest Sabrina Carpenter song, right, Steve? I'm trying to talk to the kids.
Right. Got us.
Yeah. Now, imagine you're listening to it and like, wow, I want to listen to her newest song, which is whatever it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And you accidentally record over espresso, and now espresso is gone. That can't happen with an MP3.
No.
But on a tape, it did.
So sad.
Did you ever have any detrimental taping overs as a child?
That's a good question. I do believe that my dad had, like, a copy of, like, Lonesome Dove or something that I recorded, like, on, like, a 4-part miniseries, and I'm pretty sure that I recorded either an episode of Late Night with Conan O'Brien or The Simpsons over that.
So you were okay.
Yeah, I was fine.
But your dad was bad, that Lonesome Dove, the 4-hour epic or whatever it was, yeah, taped over. Now, if your dad only lived to see the streaming world.
Oh, he would have probably hated it because he didn't like most things, but it would have been beneficial to him, yeah.
He could have watched Lonesome Dove anytime.
That's right.
Yeah, I can't remember a time. I'm sure it's one of those things that probably it did happen where I taped over something or someone taped over something, where it was like, my world shattered. But obviously now at this time, don't remember that.
Oh, actually, I do remember I had the MTV Ben Stiller sketch show, the Ben Stiller show, because MTV showed the whole series, like all 8 episodes or whatever there was, on a Saturday, and I recorded all of it. And it was, for a comedy nerd like me, it was really cool because it was like Ben Stiller, Janine Garofalo, a young upstart named Andy Dick, and somebody else famous. But I think I accidentally recorded over that with like probably an episode of Arrested Development or something.
I remember something too from my childhood. It was, I think I was sick and my mom like rented Star Trek V, The Final Frontier on pay-per-view, or maybe it was HBO. Yeah, I think it was pay-per-view or whatever. And she was she was recording it for me, unbeknownst to my knowledge. And, so I was like, all right, feel better. Here's the new Star Trek movie. Star Trek V is not the best one, but I was a kid, so it didn't matter. And I remember it was recording. I stopped the tape. I'm going to watch something. She's like, no, don't. So I had stopped it and she continued recording it. So it was like, there's a chunk of Star Trek V as a kid I never saw because of me stopping the recording.
Oh, man.
Yeah. There's my story.
So this episode that we're watching today, Jackanapes.
I'll just go away. Bye.
Sideshow Bob aired exactly 4 years after Brother from Another Series, which was the last Sideshow Bob episode. And it makes the time between the two Sideshow Bob episodes the longest span between them at the time.
Do we get a Bob? We don't get a Bob episode every year, though.
No, but this was like 4 years, so it had been a while.
Because it was always like, it seemed like from like seasons 1 through 11, or like 1 through 7 or whatever, there was like a Bob every year.
Nearly, yeah.
Will we get a Bob this year?
Maybe. I think we're due
See
for
that?
Bob. I think so.
Yeah. All right. Well, at his arraignment hearing, Sideshow Bob tells Judge Snyder that his incarceration is cruel and unusual punishment, starting with his prison-issued shower sandals, which are far too small for his gigantic feet. He holds up one of those feet, which are covered in green grime. His next example of mistreatment is the prison book club, which consists of prisoners clubbing him with books. He then shows off his bruises from the latest Tom Clancy novel, admitting that getting hit with the book is far less painful than actually reading him. Bird on you, Tom Clancy.
Take that.
Yeah. He looks to the people in the courtroom for confirmation of Clancy's poor writing. They just throw books at him. Despite this, Judge Snyder decides to free the one and only Sideshow Bob.
Speaking of dating this episode, at the time, I would need to buy my father gifts for, his birthday, Father's Day, for Christmas. And Tom Clancy books were a cheap and easy option because at that point there were millions of them, because he was basically a writing mill where he would just hire other people to write under his name and just write, basic military pablum about, espionage or whatever, like Jack Ryan light. And so, like, I don't know how many Tom Clancy books I gave to my dad for holidays. So it was just an easy gift. So it was a lot of fun.
And did he read them all?
He did. Yeah. He really liked them. I don't know why, but yeah.
Well, they are like dad books, right?
Very much so. It's the most dad book you can get, I think.
Yeah. I don't think... I know, I don't want to say I don't think. I know I've never read a Clancy book, and I'm going to be about 99.9% sure I'm never going to read a Clancy book.
I think you're safe with that bet.
But I think I've probably dabbled in his video games. Not much, so I think if they're on like Game Pass, I'm like, what is this about? I'm like, I don't really care.
Yeah,
I'll play for a second, yeah.
It's Rainbow Six, is that a thing?
Sure.
Yeah, I think I played that. It's just like, you're on a boat or a plane or something. I don't know. It was like fun for a second. I was like, I'm bored.
All right.
Anyway. On a rainy afternoon, Sideshow Bob once again walks out of the penal system a free man. Chief Wiggum warns him that he'll be watching, sticking to him like red beans on, but before Clancy can complete his simile, he sees that Bob is walking farther than him, much faster. He pleads for the attempted murderer to slow down, pointing out his long legs, while Wiggum is stuck with his little bitty hooves.
So Sideshow Bob visits the Broken Dream storage locker facility, whose sign says in brightly colored lettering, the most depressing place on earth. Raphael opens up Bob's storage locker, showing that it's just as he left it. After a polite thank you, Bob has a ticklish question for Raphael. But before he can utter those words, Raphael tells him that if he wants to live in the box, it'll be $2 a day. As Bob settles in, Raphael asks him if he'd like a wake-up jab with a broom. Bob would appreciate that.
Nice. Yeah, with today's housing, I mean, $2 a day that's pretty good.
And if it's 30 days in a month, Steve, I'm doing the math here, that's $60 a month.
Yeah. It's hard to beat that rent.
Really is.
Yeah. So in his storage locker come home, Sideshow Bob writes furiously on a notepad when his door opens to a friendly hiya neighbor. Why, it's good old Gil of Gunnarsson, who is curious as to what Bob is writing. Frustrated, Bob tells him that it is an exquisite scheme for revenge. Gale states that half the guys in this makeshift community are working on revenge, pointing to several men in their lockers plotting payback. And so one guy holds up a revolver, another brandishes a switchblade knife, while a third proudly shows off his nuclear bomb. The first stage of Bob's plan begins in the hallowed halls of Springfield Elementary.
Phase 1 begins in 10, 9, 8. Oh, I can't wait.
Now, Bob, your graduate degrees more than qualify you to be assistant janitor.
My blushes.
But I am a bit troubled by your constant attempts to murder people.
To be fair, most of those people were Bart Simpson.
Good luck. That kid's like the Roadrunner. He won't go down.
Tell me about it.
You know, Bob, your voice would be perfect for the school's morning announcements.
Attention. The French Club picnic has been cancelled. Quel dommage.
You're hired.
It begins. I mean my announcing career. That's what's beginning.
I just think it's irresponsible for a school district to hire Sideshow Bob, who's been known to try to kill a child or children.
Yeah, I think that is not the best move, yeah.
And did your schools ever hire outside an employee to do announcements? It's usually just a faculty member or even the students.
Yeah, I don't think that it warrants a paid position even, because,
Yeah.
first of all, how much announcements are this, like, an elementary school even having? Like, lunches are usually handed out on a scheduled grid on paper.
Yeah.
And, what else do kids need to know about? Like, computer labs open till 3? Like, who cares?
Do they even have computer labs in schools anymore? I doubt it.
No, because they all have, like, Chromebooks probably, and so...
Oh, well, rich schools have, like, Apple.
Yeah.
Apple Macs.
Apple Macs.
I'm an old Apple Mac. Well, they don't taste like apples. What is that?
They're for kids.
You just don't get it, do you, Dad?
No.
Those commercials? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you got
That's how old we are. I liked Apple Jacks. I thought they were fun.
Yeah, they're good. If they
Do they still make
cereal.
Do they still make those?
I'm sure they do, I think. Because I remember they changed the mascot to whatever it is when I was a kid, to like a Jamaican cinnamon stick and a dove.
And don't get me started with cereal mascots, Steve. I'm the only one who still remembers there was 3 chefs for the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and then they got rid of 2 of them, and it was only 1. And now I don't even think the chefs exist.
Right. And I remember when Cookie Crisp was a dog and a cop, not a weird wolf.
Children had it better back in the 80s when we had our sugar cereals.
That's right.
Okay. Hey, Steve. As his first school announcement, Sideshow Bob reports that in Lost and Found, there's one unplanned killed, and outside we see groundskeeper Willie in his underpants, and he stops his raking, excited to hear what Bob has to say. I like, is this the obvious joke of like, that's the only one is groundskeeper Willie. But unfortunately for the Scotsman, the killed is in the clan Graham of Montrose, which is not Willie's clan. So I just like the idea that there's a kilt that's not his, because he'd be the only one wearing a kilt. But my biggest complaint is Willie's wearing underpants. You don't wear underwear with kilts.
Right.
Steve, I'm wearing a kilt. Do you see any underwear?
Nope, I do not. I can see a lot of things, but underwear is not one of them.
All right. Should I
It's also
spread my legs in front of you right now? Or
I mean, you do what you got to do, but if you don't need to, you're fine.
Right.
I do have to say, though, that also means that there is another Scotsman walking around without pants, and if he's more traditionalist like you are, he's hanging hog, and so
at an
elementary school.
Yeah. All right. Well, in the classroom, Bart notices that the announcer's voice is awfully familiar, just as it instructs him to proceed immediately, unescorted, to the old sports equipment shed behind the school.
Despite Bob's evil laughter, Bart gladly jumps from his desk, saying, "So long, suckers," and then he walks through the eerily ominous playground as the wind howls and a bird screeches somewhere in the distance. The ghostly voice of children singing Ring Around the Rosie is faintly heard as Bart approaches the shed. He walks in, turns on the light, and a colony of bats fly out. Just then, Bart sees that Bob makes himself known.
Hello, Bart.
Oh, it's you, Bob. How you doing?
No screams? Not even an eep?
Hey, I'm not afraid of you. Every time we tangle, you wind up in jail. I'm 6-0.
I'll admit that the record is a little one-sided. But this time, I cannot fail. Bricks, my old arch-enemy.
I thought I was your arch-enemy.
I have a life outside of you, Bart.
I mean, you can't do a Sideshow Bob episode without a rake, right?
No, you got to have the rake. It's really funny, and I always love that noise that he makes. Just always so much fun. But I do have a blunder, Craig.
Thank God.
So Bart mentioned that he had defeated Sideshow Bob 6-0, but this is in fact the 7th episode of Sideshow Bob, but it would have actually been 5-0, in which it's Krusty Gets Busted, of course, the original, Black Widower, where he marries Patty or Selma, Cape Fear, which is like Cape Fear, Sideshow Bob Roberts, where he runs for office, and Sideshow Bob's Last Gleaming. But the next one, Brother from Another Series, doesn't count, since Sideshow Bob wasn't the one who instigated a crime. It was actually his brother Cecil, and Bart and Bob actually get along in it. And the only reason that Sideshow Bob goes back to jail in that episode is because Wiggum assumes that it was him who committed the crime, even though he actually didn't.
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Now, I know we're never allowed to talk about that episode because it's not part of the seasons 11 and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
But as a kid, that episode, Brother from Another Series, I always felt like that was the closure for Bob because, like, Bart and Bob teamed up and, you know, Bart was saved by Bob. Like, after that episode, I always assumed, you know what? I think Bob's a changed man. And then, like, the joke that always, like, they sent him back to jail always upset me as a child.
Right. I know what you mean, because everything was better. Bob and Bart got along good, and Bob was now reformed. And so, yeah.
Yeah. So it always upset me that Bob is still a bad guy. Like, he's reformed.
Yeah, he did it.
And spoilers for after this episode, like, this should also be his last episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're going to kill him. All right.
When they were writing this episode, Al Jean wanted to write a Sideshow Bob, and he never had. And he also really wanted to work with Kelsey Grammer because he said that of all the guest stars they've had, who have been great, Kelsey Grammer is one of the best, they said. But they didn't know where to go, and so this was like a kind of a difficult thing. So when they finally did come up with it, this is what they'd come up with. So in the shed, Bob has tied Bart in a chair, and when Bart asks Bob what he wants, he goes over his plan. First, to get a job as a school announcer, then lure Bart to the shed, and then secure same 2-chair with rope, and then the next stage, have Bart kill Krusty. So stunned, Bart says that Krusty is the one man he'd never kill. Which is funny because he knows lots of men like his father, Homer. But Sideshow Bob assures him that he will murder Krusty during his final show without even knowing that he's doing it.
So Bob pulls a quarter out of his pocket, telling Bart to keep his eye on it. That is, until Bob drops the coin, which he desperately needs for laundry. Bart calls out, "Hey, stupid!" and then laughs when Bob looks. After grumbling in frustration, Sideshow Bob grabs an archery target from the wall of the shed and pierces the back of it with an arrow. He then spins the target until it becomes a spiral, spinning and spinning, sending Bart into a hypnotic state, which continues when he's back at home.
Watch the spiral, Bart. Let it entrance you with its twirliness. Twirliness. You are in my power.
I am at your command.
I didn't say anything about command. If you're in my power, say so.
I am in your power.
Excellent. Actually, go back to command. No, power. Power.
Look, Krusty invited us to the taping of his last episode.
Hello, family.
Where have you been, young man? It's nearly bedtime.
I was.
If anyone asks, you were at the flower shop.
I was at the flower shop.
Oh, yeah, I was at the flower shop, too. Yep, getting drunk at the old flower shop.
At the beginning with I am at your command. It's like the same wording, but different. Very funny. It's like so Bart is hypnotized, but he's still being a little rascal. I like that.
Yeah, and also I like Homer getting drunk at the old flower shop.
That seems like it'd be a great name for a bar, the Flower Shop.
Oh, yeah, I'd like that.
All right.
And then
Steve,
they sell flowers, so when, husbands are, like, too wasted, they can just buy, a dozen roses.
And then
honey.
And the receipt will say the Flower Shop. And like, look, there's even a receipt from the Flower Shop. That's where I was.
Yeah. Well, I spent $82 on flowers and Bud Light.
That was the florist's name, Bud Light. He was trimming the bush.
Yeah. He replaced Miller High Life. So also this plot of like, a sleeper candidate or a sleeper person with a hypnotized state, very reminiscent of The Manchurian Candidate, which was a novel and then turned into a 1962 movie with Frank Sinatra, and then later a remake in 2004 with Liev Schreiber and Denzel Washington.
You were saying that they were having a hard time coming up with a story, and you think someone just in the writer's room like, have we done a Manchurian Candidate parody yet? And they're like, no, we haven't. All right, perfect. Let's do that.
I think so. Yeah, they're just like, let's. They're just looking at Frank Sinatra movies, and they're like, well, Ocean's 11, no. Manchurian Candidate, okay. Are there more? I don't know. So to test if he'll actually attack his beloved hero, Sideshow Bob sends a blindfolded Bart to Krusty Burger, armed with a baseball bat. When the blindfold is removed, Bart runs towards the statue of Krusty, repeatedly hitting the crotch of the Krusty likeness until cracks begin to appear. As Bart continues to work the groin, Bob laughs with maniacal delight. Cletus Spuckler walks by, and Bob hands him a camera and asks for a picture of himself, posing while Bart beats the statue's junk.
Inside, Eddie the cop points to the action, saying that Chief Wiggum may want to check it out. And Bob encourages Bart to kill the Krusty statue, much like he'll kill the real Krusty the following night. Clancy's only comment is how nice it is to see a kid using a wooden bat, since, nowadays it's all aluminum this and George W. that. Two things that don't go together, which is very funny.
Yeah.
They don't let kids play with wooden bats anymore, so it's an aluminum. And wooden bats are too heavy for kids. I remember, as a kid, picking up a wooden bat. I'm like, I can't hit with this.
Yeah, I do remember also, when aluminum bats became fashionable, the good athletes could really knock the ball out of the park with it because it was so light.
Yeah, it's more exciting. As a kid, you get to hit home runs. But, those boomers got to use the wooden bats.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so Lou then shows what he got as a prize in his Laffy meal. It's a mini pinball machine. Clancy snatches it from Lou's hands, refusing to give it back. It's fun. Outside, Bart continues to smash the Krusty statue into pieces, much to the homicidal delight of Sideshow Bob.
So, Krusty takes to the stage, welcoming viewers to his final clown cast. As he goes on to describe the various definitions of the word legend, Bart sits in the balcony using a sight on a flamethrower to aim at Krusty. In a monotone voice, he says that he's doing it for Sideshow Bob. So Bart lets out a blast of fiery carnage at Krusty, turning him into a pile of ash. Sideshow Bob steps on stage, clapping slowly, offering the briefest moments of silence before claiming the show for himself. As a sophisticated audience of intellectuals cheer, Bob thanks them, only to wake up from his dream in his dreary storage shed. Bob vows to taste the sweet nectar of vengeance later that night, when he receives a knock on his shed door, informing him that they're about to administer bug spray to the unit.
So over at Krusty Lou Studios, all the celebs have shown up for Krusty's final show. And what's fun about this is it's all celebrities that have been on The Simpsons, such as Ron Howard, the karate-kicking Gary Coleman, Rainier Wolfcastle, who also informs Kent Brockman that he's seen better days here in this clip.
Kent Brockman here at Krusty the Clown's final show. And here comes out-of-work actor Rainier Wolfcastle. Someone please give me a chop. I've lowered my quote to 8 million. Ha ha, hear that, Hollywood? The boy wants to work. I do nude scene. I play nerd. Don't make me punch your throat. Ha ha, always a delight.
I feel like at this time, too, Arnold Schwarzenegger was doing, movies still, but he didn't have, the big hits that he did at one time. He'd maybe, do another Terminator movie or, a mediocre sci-fi film the Mars one, whatever it was.
The Sixth Day. The Mars one. Steve, come on, that's Total Recall. That's, in the early 90s. That's a fucking classic.
No, I'm not talking about I think he did a different Mars one around this time that wasn't Total Recall.
I was saying, The Sixth Day wasn't popular. Eraser. Was that Eraser, right? No, I'm
Yeah.
second guessing myself. Yeah. And then he's like, screw this, I'm going to run for governor. And that became the joke for many years. And now look at him. He's got the coolest son-in-law in Hollywood.
That's right. And
Chris Pratt.
He knocked up his maid.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, that maid gets around. 3 potted plants are pushed on wheels in the studio, and behind them, perfectly hiding in the leaves shaped like his hair, is Sideshow Bob, who sneaks into the service entrance. On the stage, the announcer introduces Krusty, who's retiring for the 5th and final time. Krusty tells the audience to fasten their funny belts as he welcomes Chippendale's dancer, Mr. Teeny, giving the people what they want, the full monkey.
Mr. Teeny thrusts his groin towards the crowd and rips up his own jacket, exposing his hot monkey bod, wearing gold briefs and a bow tie. And Homer shouts to take it off, and then catches the private's jacket as he throws it, as Hot Chocolate's You Sexy Thing plays. And Mr. Teeny continues to shake his rump as Bart watches from the audience, enjoying the show. Suddenly, from a vent below his feet, Bart hears a voice, instructing him to take action. Meanwhile, Krusty reminisces on his earlier days of TV stardom.
Bart. It's time, Bart. Time to blow up the clown.
Time to blow up the clown.
Go, blow.
And now, a special treat. My TV debut on the Milk of Magnesia Summer Cavalcade. Let's watch. Look at me. I'm Kaputnik, the Russian satellite. Yeah! Oh, the Bolshoi's doing the nutcracker in my pants. Back then, you couldn't say pants on TV. I was banned for 10 years. Finally, I got a second chance on laughing.
Hey, Krusty, what do you get when you cross a chicken with a bagel?
The doors are stuck. Don't just stare, Artie. Help me. Those lousy shutters set me back another 22 years.
I love the joke of pants. Not being allowed. It's the setup and the not so obvious joke. We like to do that joke all the time. It's I can't pronounce this word, and it's like, we're saying like Bob, blah, 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 is the last name. It's like Bob, right?
Pronounced Bob. Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic.
That's great.
Also, laugh-in. That's a thing that is a reference too old for us, but, even worse for the listeners now.
But that's the point of Krusty. He's always old and outdated.
That's true. So below the stage, Sideshow Bob mixes some plastic explosives, tasting them a la Jackie Gleason, or, again, for our more modern listeners, Eugene Levy doing a Jackie Gleason impression. That's good plastic explosive. He pours the volatile substance into several vials strapped to a bandolier across Bart's chest. He then tells his little hypno-assassin that his attack will begin when he hears Krusty say, "I've never had such a great audience." Bob instructs the hypnotized Bart to run on stage and hug Krusty, blowing both of them to smithereens, to which Bart replies, "Whatever."
Krusty is about to show some clips from his show when Dr. Hibbert steps on stage with a young boy using a crutch. After a frightening modesty, Krusty allows Hibbert to say that 3 years ago, Krusty pledged over $1 million to start Krusty's Care Center. Krusty begs him to stop, but Julius goes on to say that they have not received dime one from Krusty, and the doctor then introduces the sick boy, Francis, who weakly says, "I'm cold all the time." Krusty swears it was a bookkeeping snafu, and Krusty agrees to write a check, and then tells his banker on TV land, "Let nothing stop you from payment of this check." Again, another great scene. It's the whole Jerry Lewis telethons, so, "Oh no, I'm getting embarrassed. Oh please, yes, I did all this charitable work. Yet Krusty hasn't." Mm-hmm. And should Krusty's Care Center be the center should be with a K too? So it's Krusty's Care Center, all Ks.
That's what I was thinking as well. Yeah,
they've done that joke before, but it's still always funny.
Yeah, I think we could stick with it. But
yeah,
in the catwalk above the stage, Sideshow Bob has the perfect vantage point for revenge. He then sits and enjoys a snack of kettle chips, the perfect side dish for revenge. And down below, Krusty remarks that it's been a special night, and then says he's never had such a great audience. Those words cause Bart to get up from his seat and walk towards the stage in a trance, ready to hug his hero, killing them both.
So as Bart walks up, he hugs Krusty and blows both of them up, and credits. The episode's over.
That was a good episode.
Yeah, I give it 10 out of 5 stars.
I give it 7 moons out of 5 stars.
All right, we'll be right back. No, Steve. In the Rafters Sideshow, Bob states that this is Krusty's Waterloo, and he'll soon be Napoleon Bonaparte. A nearby lightning guy scoffs at Bob's comment, calling it terrible, and Bob tells him to hush up. Meanwhile, Krusty talks about his faith, lack thereof, and his celebrity lifestyle, forbidding one big regret.
You know, I'd like to thank God for all my success, even though I never worshipped or believed in him in any way. But before I sweep up my last spotlight, there's one thing I've got to say. Over the years, I've a lot of whoa, and I've my share of auga. But there's only one thing I'm ashamed of.
Ashamed?
There was a man who used to work for me, a man of grace and humor, but I mistreated him and drove him to a life of crime. So wherever you are, I just want to say, Sideshow Bob, I'm sorry. Oh, Bob, you repaid my abuse with raw hatred, but I need you today, oh, Bob. Well, you went to Apu's and you framed me, so they locked me away.
Oh, that sweet, funny man.
The whole time we're thinking Krusty just didn't care about Bob, but he always has.
That's right. And, they even did a Simon and Garfunkel style photo.
I always say, what about Bob?
What about Bob, indeed? It's a good movie, I think. I haven't seen it in a long time. Is it?
Me either. All I know is Richard Dreyfuss is a piece of shit in real life.
Yeah, and so is Bill Murray, probably.
Well, Bill Murray is questionable, I think. But he's like Bill Murray. Like, he's still, you hear stories about him, but...
Yeah.
Anyways, as Bart goes closer and closer to Krusty, Sideshow Bob realizes that he needs to stop his boy bomb. He runs towards the stage. Krusty is about to wrap up the show when he sees Bart, and he asks the crowd if he should hug the tow-headed fan, and the crowd shouts, "Yeah! Woo!"
So, Sideshow Bob makes it to the stage, but it seems that he's too late, as a crowd of people are preventing him from thwarting Bart. Just then, the hero of the show, really, Mr. Teeny, notices the explosives on Bart's person and swings down on a rope, grabbing the bandolier bombs and throwing them into the network executive's boardroom. After a brief moment of hesitation, he jumps just as the room explodes. Krusty asks if anyone was hurt, and Sideshow Mel says that it was just some network execs. And inside, Silver Goo, in the style of T-1000 from, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator 2 Judgment Day, reforms into the shape of the studio heads in unison that they have notes asking if anyone's thought about Dave Chappelle.
All right, a lot of impact there for me, Steve.
Yeah.
This is the age, we're in the year 2001, where a T-1000 joke, like the liquid metal, I think that joke had been done too much. They did that in like Hot Shots Part 1, or is it Part 2? They did like a Saddam Hussein, gets blown up and turns into the T-1000. I think this is a dated joke, even then.
Yeah. I think that Wayne's World 2 hiring Robert Patrick to be a cop is the peak of using T-1000 or Terminator 2 style jokes. And then it was all downhill from there.
I agree. That was the greatest joke in that film that you call Wayne's World 2.
Yeah.
And then where are we at in Dave Chappelle, like in the year 2001? Where are we with him? This was before Chappelle's show.
Is it? Yeah, I guess. So are we talking like Half-Baked?
Is it Half-Baked? Was he in Robin Hood Men in Tights and Half-Baked?
I mean, Men in Tights is like it's like 92, 93.
Right, yeah, like mid-90s, yeah. Huh. Yeah, where was Dave Chappelle this time? Now he's just, beloved everywhere.
Oh, yeah, he can do no wrong. As funny as he is, he has healthy lungs.
Hey, it's the nicest thing you can say about him.
True. Let's see. He was... So Half-Baked came out in 98. He had a special in 2000, but as a performer,
he really hadn't hit mainstream, right?
Right. No, he was probably just an up-and-coming name that people were tossing around as like the next big thing.
All right, well, here we are, Steve, at the swanky Pimento Grove restaurant. Krusty, Sideshow Bob, and the Simpsons pose for a photo before Bob offers an apology to his former nemesis.
I'm so sorry about the attempted murder.
Will you stop with the sorry? Every time you try to kill me, my ratings go through the roof, you nut!
We are good together, Krusty.
It makes me sad that you're getting the death penalty.
Oh, don't remind me.
So, Bob's going to be murdered.
That's right.
Well, unless Governor Bailey gets rid of the death penalty in their state.
Well, and that's should be Bailey's, stance because it's cruel and unusual. But Chief Wiggum rolls a guillotine to Bob and Krusty's table, and Sideshow Bob asks about a trial, causing Wiggum to call him a wise guy. And, well, that's our episode. So, this is the last one because Sideshow Bob got beheaded and everything's fine now.
We should find out what state still allows the guillotine as a death penalty.
Let's say Texas, but...
Probably. Texas or Florida.
But, Craig, let's see.
It's a joke. See, that's not an actual form of... I know the trivia, like the last guillotine death was in 1977 in France. Because it was Star Wars came out the same week the last capital punishment of the guillotine in France or something like that was.
Yeah, and I think that in America it was a little bit earlier than that, but still just a weird thing because it was designed, to be more humane.
They're designed to kill.
Sorry. Thanks, Marge.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's take a break and let's not behead ourselves thinking about this episode, but we'll be right back to talk more about the day of the Jackanapes.
Okay.
We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Let's finish up our discussion of Day of the Jackanapes. We'll talk about our things that make us laugh, maybe a most valuable jokester, what we thought about the episode, and what we're watching next week. But before we do that, let's give each other some gifts, some presents reminiscent of this episode. And Craig, I got you a whole wardrobe because, your clothes are looking great, but they could be better. So I got you a pair of shower shoes that are the appropriate size so you don't have gross green goo all over your feet. I got you a kilt with the appropriate clan that you can wear commando. And I also got you a bandolier of liquid explosives. So you can be styling in so many ways.
I appreciate the wardrobe. Steve, money's a little tight, so I only got you one thing this week, and it's just a little pennant banner that says game shows.
I'll take it. That seems like fun.
All right. If I had more cash, I would get you a monkey.
Well, Craig, I've got good news for you because aside from that wonderful wardrobe, I also got you a wheelbarrow full of cash.
Wow. You know what? I don't want it, Steve. In fact, I'm just going to take this match and I burned it in front of your face.
No. Okay.
No, it's your gift. I can do whatever I want with it.
That's true. When you give a gift, that's it. They can shit on it if they want to. So there you are.
Which is nice because I like to give toilets to people.
That is nice, yeah. Very appropriate. Craig, what made you laugh in this episode?
Well, you already said I'm getting that kilt for my gift, but that was one of my favorite scenes is Willie and the Kilt, which is also the name of my band, Willie and the Kilts.
I like him.
I also like Bart being hypnotized by Sideshow Bob, but I am under your command. That whole bit was really hilarious too. This old guy over here. At the beginning too, the parody of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Again, like I said in the podcast, it just encapsulates the late 90s, early 2000s pop culture of America. So, Bart and Sideshow Bob, great use of the hypnosis, and Bart smashing Krusty's crotch, the statue's crotch.
Yeah.
So, MBJ, you know what? I'm going to give it to Bart.
That's fair.
And the other scene I also liked next to the Willie scene, my second favorite scene would be Dr. Hibbert bringing out the sick child and asking for money because Krusty didn't provide it.
Yes, I agree. I think that the whole Krusty burger scene with Bart just beating the crotch of the statue, and then the Springfield PD just kind of being aloof and I'm talking about baseball bats. I do like the hypnosis using the Bart being a little rascal even when he's hypnotized. And yeah, I think that it's cool that we learned that Mo was born in Indiana, so that's not the answer. The whole game show world and that very evocative of the times. And so yeah, that was fun. But I think if I had to give an MBJ, I'm going to say it's going to go Lou, the lighting person, just for, criticizing Sideshow Bob and his bad Napoleon blown apart joke. But Craig, what did you think of this episode as a whole?
I like the Napoleon blown apart joke. I thought it was funny, but of course I like dad jokes.
Yes, because you're a dad. They're your jokes now.
Yeah. Look, I think Sideshow Bob episodes, well, they might not be like 10 out of 10s, but they're still a lot of fun. There's something that it's a warming episode. Like it was just, something that started in season 1 that they continued to do. And having Bob appear every couple of years, it's just a lot exciting for fans. It's like we look forward to the Treehouse of Horrors, right? So anytime you see Kelsey Grammer's back for a Sideshow Bob story, you're just like, it doesn't matter if it's a bad episode or it's just a delightful time. Because the dulcet tones of Kelsey Grammer, wonderful. So that being said, I've seen this episode so many times. I honestly would have said that this was in the golden age, just because I just remember all the things from this. When I was rewatching it, I'm like, are you sure we didn't do this episode? Because I've seen this so many times. I swear we've talked about this. But it's probably because it's a Sideshow Bob episode that I've just seen this so many times. You know how they used to put out DVD sets, not of seasons, but sometimes they would do a Treehouse of Horror set.
Right.
There should have been, at the time of DVD, the whole Sideshow Bob DVD set. And this is a great addition to the Sideshow Bobiverse. And this was the next Bob episode after Brother from Another Series, which is probably one of my favorite Bob episodes. So following up that, a little difficult, but still I think it was pulled off well. And again, because it's Sideshow Bob, it's just a fun episode. They hit all the jokes. They got the rake joke in. So this is a comfort. It's a comfort blanket. It's something we're familiar with. So I do enjoy it. If I gave this a ranking, Steve, they make a Ronan Martin's Laugh-In joke, right? Steve, Laugh-In lasted for 6 seasons with a total of 140 episodes, with also a one-time special and another special episodes, but 140 basic show. So if I give this episode a ranking out of 140, I would give it a 123. How about you?
Oh, that's fair. This is a demarcation point of the Sideshow Bob episodes. And you mentioned about how we look forward to them, and I think about other sitcoms like Cheers and, episodes that are against Gary's Bar. I think about Night Court and the episodes where they had to get X number of cases done by the end of the night. There's various sitcoms that would call upon these, kind of, maybe not annual, but regular things that they would revisit. And so it is always nice to see a Sideshow Bob episode. However, I do feel like this is when the quality slowly begins to decline. I think that Cape Fear, Sideshow Bob Roberts, and Bob's Last Gleaming, I know people are a little iffy on Bob's Last Gleaming, but I think those are all super solid. Of course, you have the first one, and, the one with Cecil, also great. And while I enjoyed this episode a lot, I think that this is where it starts to get a little less good. I think what they did with the hypnosis stuff is a lot of fun. However, I do think that the hypnosis plot is a little tired, but I do think this is, all in all, a really fun episode, and I do think it's a watch. But my feelings for it aren't quite as great as I want them to be, and maybe it is because I've seen it too many times, and that of the classic Sideshow Bob episodes, this one is probably the weakest for me. However, I did enjoy it, so if I had to give it a numerical ranking, in the beginning of the episode, we had Mo on Me Wanty, where he won $500,000. So out of $500,000, I'm going to give this, let's say $275,000.
I'll take it.
All right. Yeah, so I think it's a good episode. Maybe not a great episode, but it's definitely worth a watch.
I agree with what you're saying is like the beginning of the decline, because we have yet to review it, but the one where he has the Italian wife and the Italian kids, I remember not being particularly fond of that episode. So I can see we're talking about like, yeah, the hypnosis plot is very cliche for cartoons. There probably still might be some more gems out there for Sideshow Bob.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like this is like the worst one. I'm saying that we had so much greatness in the golden age that eventually it has to get a little less good, and I think that this is the beginning of that.
What's the one where he is found in the it's the air show and he's in the hot air balloon?
That is Sideshow Bob's Last Gleaming.
Okay, put that one to this one. Which one do you think is better? Do you think Last Gleaming's better than this one?
In my opinion, yes, I do. I like the Army or the Air Force jokes. The Colonel was a lot of fun.
Well, you know what, Steve? I don't know, because we're not allowed to watch an episode.
Fair point. But you know what we are allowed to watch? Another episode from the not golden age.
That's our job, Steve. That's what we're supposed to do.
That's right. But to find out what it is we are going to watch next week, we're going to need that good old Wheel of Random.
Well, you have it.
All right, let's give it a spin to see which season we're in. Ba-doop. All right, we have season 19. Let's give it another spin to see which episode we're watching. Ba-doop. All right, we have season 19, episode 2.
Wow, episode 2. All right, I got to come up with a title. Well, Steve, this is a, this is how we do it. Day of the Jackal, or Day of the Jackanapes, is a parody of Day of the Jackal, right? A movie directed by Fred Zinnemann, Steve. Fred Zinnemann. Steve, Fred Zinnemann died on my birthday in 1997.
Wow.
Yeah.
Suspicious.
Very suspicious, Steve. He directed a lot of junk that we've all watched. Junk. All film is junk, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Steve, you ever heard of a little movie called High Noon?
Yes.
Or Oklahoma?
Where the Wind Blows.
Yeah, well, Steve, I think that this episode is going to be a parody of one of his movies, just like The Day of the Jackal. And this one's going to be a parody of Oklahoma, entitled you guessed it, Bart. Oklahoma Bart.
I love it.
You thought I was going to say Oklahoma, but no. That's how we do jokes. And I had to explain it.
So much funnier when you do explain it.
Thank you. There's a movie he made in 1947 called My Brother Talks to Horses.
I mean, that would be a good one. My sister talks to horses, and it's about Lisa, but
I want to watch a movie called My Brother Talks to Horses.
Yeah.
All right, maybe on our Patreon, Steve.
Yes, the Patreon, all about people talking to siblings and horses.
Yes. Not movies, Steve. Movies.
But sadly, Craig, that is not the title. In fact, the title is Homer of Seville. What do you think that's about?
Okay, when I think of Seville, I think of Dave Seville, and that's the Chipmunks. So I think Homer, he finds that Bart finds that there's a family of chipmunks in his treehouse, and he wants to take care of them and raise them because Bart likes animals. And Homer's like, wait, do you have 3 chipmunks? I know what to do. And so Homer tries to make them singers in a rock band.
I like it.
But they're chipmunks. And it doesn't work out. So he hires Martin, Nelson, and Database to sing for the chipmunks, like behind stage. So it looks like, they're actually singing, but it's really those 3 boys that are the singers. He's grifting people, right? It's like a flea circus.
Right.
And then in the B story, Lisa and Marge decide to go up and clean the attic, and then they find the attic an old photo album of Marge's, and it turns out she was in a Swedish pop group in the 70s, and so they travel to Sweden to reunite with their old bandmates. They were called Baba.
Mamma mia, here we go again.
And in the C story,
oh boy,
Maggie teaches kids not to smoke cigarettes.
Oh, that's a good message.
All right. And that's it.
That sounds like a great episode. Sadly, though, that is all wrong. So Homer enters the world of celebrity when he discovers a new talent whilst laid up in a hospital bed. Singing opera? His dulcet tones. Now, you said dulcet tones earlier, and it's weird because I've never heard the word dulcet not followed by tones.
Have I said that?
You did earlier. I don't remember it in referencing what, but you did say dulcet tones.
Kelsey Grammer, yes.
But yeah, Homer's dulcet tones stop babies crying and make the weak feel strong. The songbird is propelled into the limelight, wowing the crowds at the Springfield Opera House. Stardom proves, though, that it's not all it's cracked up to be. As Homer finds out that with fame and fortune comes obsessive fans. Greg, do you remember this episode?
Yeah. I just remember Homer in a bed singing opera. That's all I remember, though.
That's I know I've seen this episode, and that's pretty much what I remember as well.
Couldn't tell you a joke, though.
No, me neither. Well, we like you, listener, and we like it when you listen to us, and we thank you for doing so. And hey, we want to listen to you, so you can reach out to us at on our socials, like Instagram or Threads or YouTube at 13simpsons, or you can always email us at 13simpsons@gmail.com.
Don't forget to leave us a voicemail. Go through the show's notes, and there's a little button that says leave a voicemail. I believe it's still there. Hopefully it is. If it's not, then I apologize. If you can't do that, then don't. But you can leave a review for this podcast. Go to Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast app you use and leave us 5 stars or the equivalent. But you don't need to write a real review. No, you just tell us which TV clown you want to blow up with a little boy.
Hope it's nutsy. And hey, if you want to look cool like all the other kids in your class, go to tpublic.com/user/annoyedgruntboy and get yourself some awesome Annoyed Grunt Boy swag. We've got all kinds of t-shirts and other merch. Check it out. You'll be glad you did. All right. Thank you so much for listening. For this week, I've been Annoyed Grunt Boy Steve.
I've been Annoyed Grunt Boy Craig.
And remember, if anyone asks, I was at the flower shop.
I had a thing for Judge Judy, but blank tape was $3.99.
It makes me sad that you're getting the death penalty.